What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Kamen Rider Build episode 4. This episode is called when there's zero testimony, and it's a really good episode. It does a lot of really cool things, it expands in a lot of ways, and it's really interesting. So the episode starts off with us seeing Sento having a flashback again after being poisoned by the Cobra and he ends up seeing this flashback where he's in the human experimentation lab, and he ends up noticing the Pandora box is there. He then wakes up and speaks to Soichi about it and mentions how, I wonder why Faust had it and what connection it has to them. So then at that point he becomes suspicious, and then eventually after talking, he ends up talking to Ryoga on the phone, because Ryoga ends up calling him, he ends up asking, did you make it to Saito? And he says, yes, we did make it to Saito. The woman that Build saved helped us out and brought us there, and she even gave us some money. So in the meantime, we end up seeing Sento talking with Soichi about the dream and all that stuff, and then eventually another bottle is finished being made. This bottle is the ninja bottle, which we won't even get the combination until next episode, because the other bottle that goes with it is introduced the Smash Monster that Build has to fight is introduced in this episode, so we don't get the actual combination until the following episode. But we'll get into that, and I'll tell you what it is by the end. Anyway, what happens is that then Mizora comes out, and Sento ends up asking Mizora to use her internet idol appearance to go online and try to get people to give them information about the Pandora's box to see what information they can dig up. So that all happens, and they end up finding out information. In the meantime, we end up seeing that Ryoga and Sawa end up traveling to where Nabeshima's family is, and they realize that there's lots of security cameras and they don't want to be spotted, because Ryoga obviously is not in the best shape regarding being wanted. So what happens is that they end up seeing this truck that has some people that are doing some work and stuff, and they end up taking their clothing and disguising themselves as them, delivering a package, and they go up to Nabeshima's home where the wife and the daughter are, and what happens is that they say that they want to help them out, and we end up meeting Haruka, the daughter, and then the mother, which we don't really know her name, but yes, the two of them are spoken about, and Sawa ends up asking the mother if they know anything about Faust, and basically she does, but apparently Nabeshima didn't really talk about Faust too much, so she can't really give much information. In the meantime, Ryoga ends up being shown by Haruka how to do cat's cradle, and the daughter's like maybe 6 or 7, maybe a little bit younger, and she really loves her father so much, and she remembers being praised by him when she first showed him cat's cradle, and she really just wants to see her father, and she loves him so much. So eventually they discuss things more, and they realize that they need to bring them back to Todo, and what happens is that the only way that they're going to get them out is they end up going back into disguises, and they end up using the box to put Haruka and the mother inside the box to bring them back to Todo. So they end up traveling with the box, and Sawa in the meantime ends up going to get a car, which we don't see that, but it does happen, and suddenly when Ryoga is trying to bring the box over that contains Nabeshima's family, a guardian monster shows up, which is a stronger, more elite monster, and attacks Ryoga. Ryoga ends up using the Dragon Ball to have some extra strength and gets into a battle with the guardian monster, and then eventually they end up escaping and running into the van that Sawa had, and they end up going towards where the boat is to bring them back to Todo from Saito. So then from there, suddenly one of the guardians end up jumping on the car, and it turns out to be a bomb. So then they end up trying to tell the woman and her husband to start the boat up because it's a bomb and all that. So what happens is that Ryoga ends up grabbing Haruka, and the mother and Sawa end up having to jump out of the van in order to make sure that they can get on the boat and not get injured by the explosion. So they get on the boat, the car explodes, and then they end up having to head back to Totoro. In the meantime, we end up seeing Sento talking to Gentaku about Faust and also about the Pandora box. He ends up showing how during the Skyfall incident, there were 2 panels that disappeared suddenly when the incident happened, and what happens, and there were 2 green panels, meaning that there were multiple layers to the Pandora's box, and he ends up asking, do you know where those panels are? He says, why would I know? They, as you said, they were lost. And the thing is that when he mentions Faust, they say, how would you know about this? And he ends up mentioning all sorts of stuff. But in the end, his assistant tries to keep on making Sento stop talking about things and trying to ask questions and all that. But Gentaku is willing to talk a little bit, but is kind of quiet about most information that he gives. But he's not too revealing, but he gives enough information to just give you an idea. And he basically says that the reason why they were what the thing is that he asked, what does Faust have anything to do with it? And the Gentaku basically mentions how there was an inside man that actually worked for Faust, and then they show an image of this guy. Now the thing is that the image is at first blurred, but later on we find out who that is, and it's someone that's pretty interesting that we already have known for the whole show right now, and we'll get into that shortly. So what happens is that eventually, when Sento returns back, he ends up seeing Soichi, and he ends up asking him, a year ago you told me to become build and, protect people and do things like I've done, but I never really knew you. I don't really know what your job is. I don't really know what you do. And the thing is that he's suspicious of him, and he's like, what is this? What brought this on? And he says, just wanted to know. I'm not sure about what you've done and all that, and I want to know more. And the reason why is because the image that we find out really is supposed to be Soichi. But he's suspicious, yet he doesn't want to assume that it actually is him, because it could be someone else that looks like him, but he doesn't want to assume anything. And he doesn't want to come across as blatantly saying, are you a member of Faust, or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of what was hinted at. So then what happens is that we end up seeing that there is another monster attack reported in from a Smash Monster, and this Smash Monster, and the thing is that we also see that inside the Faust base that Nabeshima was captured and was put under an additional experimentation, meaning that the effects and the way that the Smash Monster took form were different, meaning that when he was put under the experimentation, you can have multiple experimentations, but the results may differ even more so. And since he was experimented on again, he became the square Smash rather than the Mirage Smash that he was the first time. And the thing is that Sento has to go into like a park where they have like a dinosaur setup going on, and he ends up fighting the Square Smash. The Square Smash uses blocks and stuff like that to shoot at a Build, and Build uses a couple of different combinations. He uses Gorillamon, he uses Gatling, like rapid Gatling, which is different because obviously he done Hawk Gatling, so now he did rapid Gatling to fight to fight him, which is always good that they do have these that you could mix things up, and the show does show the other combinations. So he ends up using that, and then at one point when the square smash, at one point what happens is that we end up seeing Bloodstark, but we don't see his face. He's just laying there, and he ends up using his gas stream attack to shoot some of the gas, which supposedly is the same kind of, is like a similar kind, is a different kind of gas than the one that's used to turn them into Smash monsters, but this gas results in the Square Smash being made huge. And what happens is that when Sento tries to fight the Square Smash, he ends up in some really tough situations, and at one point Ryoga appears and actually throws the Voltec Breaker at the Square Smash, which is different from what Sento ever thought of doing, because Sento always uses it to like bash and hit rather than to toss. So that obviously creates another alternative option for how he can attack his opponents. So what happens is that from there, Sento ends up transforming into Hawk Alley and gets into a fight with the Square Smash. He uses the full bullet attack, which is like, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. That attack to eventually finish off the Square Smash. And what happens is that from there, the Square Smash is revealed to be Nebashima again. Thing is that they end up returning Nebashima back to their base this time, rather because this time Bloodstark doesn't take Nebashima back again, and they end up bringing it back. And when Ryoga tries to speak to Nebashima after he wakes up from being knocked out after being converted back into himself, he has no idea who Ryoga is. When Ryoga asked him, do you know who I am? And Ryoga gets really annoyed because he now has no one to be a testimony to what happened to him, and his crimes that he supposedly committed, which he really didn't commit. And so the thing is that eventually we end up seeing Hiroka and the mother appear, and when Hiroka goes over to show her father Cat's Cradle and stuff again, he doesn't register it, and when she tries to give him a hug, he doesn't register it. He actually pushes her away a little bit. He doesn't get annoyed, but he pushes her away, not knowing how to respond to her because he doesn't know his daughter at this time because he's lost his memory. So the thing is that Ryoga tries to talk to Nebashima about how your daughter wanted, she wanted to see you give her praise and all that, and she missed you so much, and you should be able, and it matters more than anything that you show her love right now than even more so than you knowing me. He cares more about them as a family rather than himself, which shows something that's really powerful and emotional. And eventually what happens is that Haruka's she ends up realizing that her father doesn't remember her, and then Sento basically mentions to her, right now your father and your memories with your father don't register to him, and he ends up using a light bulb and a magnet kind of situation to show how there's no light connecting, and right now that there needs to be new memories for him in order for that for him to get to know you again, and that you should work hard to get him to, that you should do what you can with him and make him remember as best you can, make new memories, and then he makes the light work again. And she understands what he's trying to say, and what happens is that the mother and Haruka just try to comfort him, Nebashima, and we end up seeing that Sento is happy to make them happy, and it's just a really, really sweet moment. Eventually what happens is that, I forget the exact context of what happens, But Nabeshima ends up noticing the panel on the wall, which is the panel that has the combinations of bottles. And this time it has the 3 combinations: Gorilla Mind, Hawk Gatling, and Rabbit Tank, all on the wall. And the thing is that Nabeshima's like, hey, I remember that in that facility, in the human experiment facility that they had. And the thing is that we actually see that they did have that, and they actually used the bottles in a similar way. And they end up thinking, wait, how could Faust also have bottles? I thought Mizora was the only one that could make bottles. That's what they say. And then what happens is that we end up seeing Sento trying to smash at the wall to pull out the panel that holds the bottles. In the meantime, we end up seeing Suichi hearing it, and he ends up going down to figure out what's going on, and he gets annoyed when he sees Sento breaking the wall. So then what happens is that he ends up talking to Suichi and says, "Do you work for Faust? How do you have this panel? This is part of the Pandora box, isn't it?" And the thing is that that's where the episode ends, and then we end up seeing the preview, which basically says that like Suichi is thought of as a traitor for working for Faust, and also we end up seeing the new combination that'll be introduced in the next episode. The name isn't given in the little preview, but it's called Nin Comics, which is supposed to be like a combination of ninja and comics, and it's a pretty cool looking combination. I don't know if they're going to release a roleplay weapon as merchandise to go along with it, but I do know that they have a unique weapon look, which kind of looks like the Voltec Breaker, although it looks a lot cooler and has more of a sword-like look rather than kind of a drill blade situation going on. Again, I don't know for a fact. Could be that they'll release it, or they might not. But as a whole, pretty interesting. And yes, that basically means that the panel that they have on their wall and the panel that Faust has are the 2 panels that broke off when the Pandora box was opened back during the Skywall incident. So that's actually pretty interesting. Obviously, meaning that Suichi probably has more to do, has a bigger purpose than we realize. The only question that I have though is, if that's so, then how does Mizora connect to it? And also, like, why isn't he working for Faust, or was he working, or how does that work? Again, I don't know anything for a fact. I'm sure there's a lot more we're going to find out about who Suichi is. I do know that the next episode is supposed to give more context regarding who Suichi is and who Mizora is, which is what I'm really looking forward to, especially since I wanted to know about those 2 characters a lot. And originally it was mainly Mizora, but now hearing about Suichi actually having some real purpose in this show makes me even more curious, because he's actually something that's important to the overall show, and he actually he actually has more value than I initially thought he did. I thought he was just a simple shopkeep owner, but he actually has real significance. So overall, I'd love to know your guys' opinions. Did you guys enjoy this episode? What did you guys think? Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Did you guys enjoy this episode? I'll see you guys next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Star 1, and goodbye, guys.